Hello and welcome to the Gaia update for the December solstice 2018. I'm Adrienne Elise. So this solstice is incredibly powerful. They always are, but this one in particular because it's this culmination energy of all of this intense 2018 retrograde astrology. And I'm sure you've been feeling it as we've gone through this season. And leading up to this solstice, and the week before this solstice happens, first Venus, then Saturn, then Mercury, all come out of their retrograde shadow. That means that they're back to the degree that they started at when they took their retrograde. And so now they're moving into new territory. And this is the energy all around of this solstice, preparing us for the new and different energies of 2019. Now, another part of that is that the full moon in Cancer happens less than 24 hours after this solstice. So they're kind of occurring together. And this energy is really potent because the full moon happens at 0 degrees Cancer. So that means the sun is moving in, the solstice happens and the sun is moving in, and having a full moon right when it moves into the sign of Capricorn. So this full moon at 0 degrees Cancer is speaking to this new era that we're in. And this fall, the north node, the nodes of the moon moved into the signs of Cancer and Capricorn, the north node in Cancer, the south node in Capricorn. And so this full moon at 0 degrees Cancer is speaking to this whole new chapter of where we're at and where we're going. So the nodes are about the future and the past. And so the north node is how are we getting to where we're going? And there's really intense messages for us right now in our human evolution and the role of nurturing and the value of nurturing and whether we can give and receive nurturing. And so all these energies are coming up, and there's this really strong message. You can check out my video about the nodes moving in to these new signs. But it's saying that we can't move forward in our evolution until we can have an adjustment around nurturing. And then what is the energy of Capricorn on the opposite side? The south node is what's dragging behind from the past. That has to do with the structures, authoritarian structures of our life. Now this is big up for review. 2019, we're going to start to feel the 2020 astrology that we're moving into when Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto are all in Capricorn together. It's like, whoa, really intense energy of changing of the guard of our world and reevaluating these structures, authoritarian structures of our world. And so it's often our run-in with these authoritarian structures or where we've given our power away that affects our ability to receive or have nurturing in our life. And so it's a really potent and powerful axis for us right now because the south node moving through Capricorn is highlighting and preparing us for this 2020 astrology, and it's starting now. So the deal with this full moon that's happening just after this solstice is that it is the beginning of the eclipse season because it is at 0 degrees Cancer. And it's speaking to moving into this new era. And so the very next moon, the new moon in January on the 5th, that will be a partial solar eclipse, right? So we're already moving into this energy. These nodes are getting activated. So this means that these eclipses are a different energy, a new chapter, a new path, right? So the last eclipses we had, they happen every 6 months, and that they happen when the nodes of the moon line up with the sun and the moon. And then that's when the lining up happens and the darkening and the lightening occurs of the sun or the moon based on, what order they're in. And so on January 5th, our first eclipse, this is going to be a partial solar eclipse. We're not going to, it's an eclipse, we always feel them, but it's not so potent. The potent energy in this eclipse season is going to come with the total lunar eclipse that happens on January 20th. And so that's pretty interesting because that happens at 0 degrees Libra. Leo. So it's almost like, yes, we're moving into the North Node into Cancer, but we're also kind of hearkening back to the last cycle when the North Node was in Leo, and we're still gathering and completing our information, what that meant for us. And so really powerful energy adjusting, and that leads us right up to Chinese New Year that will happen on the following new moon, right after the following new moon on February 5th. So we're in this adjustment period of time, getting used to moving into the new energy of the nodes, the new energy of 2019, and go ahead and watch out for videos that I'll be doing around the energies of 2019 and this Chinese New Year as we are preparing to move into the year of the pig. So this solstice is got this powerful, full moon that is the beginning of this new cycle, and it also has these planets that we talked about all coming out of their retrograde shadow and moving into new territory. So lots of things pointing to the new, and that's kind of the energy going on right now. It's a time of adjustment out of this really intense karmic purge time that was started in May of 2018 all the way into the last couple of weeks. And so I hope you're feeling a little bit better, depending on how this stuff affected your chart and where you're at in your personal growth. This has been a really intense time, and like I said in my last video, a lot of karmic purging to the point where it's just huge and amazing. While it's happening, you can't feel that. It feels like torture. But actually, there is just an unprecedented amount of karmic energy and contracts that are being released and purged. And so when we step out of this energy and look back at it and start to get perspective, so this is where we are right now. The solstice is really about adjusting, releasing ourselves from that 2018 energy and preparing for the 2019 energy. And that's also shown to us in the fact that there's really not a lot of transits. This is the angular relationships between the planets going on. And we have had intense square energy for the last 6 months, starting with Mars coming into intense square with Uranus, and then we had Uranus squaring the nodes all fall, and Venus being in that square, and it's just been like square after square after square. And this is really intense tension energy where you're at the corner, something has to change. It's kind of like the most potent of the tension energies in the angular relationships. So we are still feeling at this solstice, we're still feeling Uranus in square to these nodes. And that's kind of this wheel of time energy we talked about. It's a strange energy where Uranus is making this big shift coming up in March, where it permanently goes into the sign of Taurus, and it's kind of this interaction with the nodes as they're, it's completing its retrograde and moving with the nodes. So we've been feeling this square since like September, October, but it's coming off now. They're 2 degrees apart for this solstice, but we're still feeling it. But that's it as far as like intensity, right? But it is speaking to this timeline alignment. The nodes square to Uranus has been this kind of energy of adjusting timelines and like this tweaking of, they were in fixed signs and they went to cardinal signs, and it's just this huge message to us that we're adjusting timelines, and that's kind of a whole nother story, but it's different for everybody right now. But basically there's a huge opportunity to realign ourselves with the frequency that can support us getting to where we really want to go in the future, right? It's about turning to the future and releasing the past. And so many people are still feeling the kind of trauma energy of this last 6 months or 4 months or 3 months, depending on how this has been for you. And so we're in this place. The solstice is really about an energetic reset. of letting go of those feelings, that squeezing feeling, and allowing ourselves to move in to this lighter, brighter energy and this hope and this connection and this bigger picture. Now, this is really helps along because during the solstice, we're going to be feeling a very powerful conjunction. So, we don't have squares and oppositions going on so much right now. We don't have that tension, but we do have this beautiful conjunction coming together for the third time with Mercury and Jupiter. So Mercury's retrograde made it so that it came up with Jupiter 3 times, but we're feeling so much other stuff. We really didn't get to sit and enjoy this conjunction, because what this is doing is Mercury is our everyday understanding of what's going on, and Jupiter is the bigger picture. So we're coming into this really great opportunity to see the bigger picture and understand what this has all been about, and processing this whole last chapter of intensity of karmic purging, and maybe possibly coming to this place of like, oh, I understand now, right? Like I went through this huge karmic purge, but now I'm ready. I know, I trust myself. I know myself way deeper. I know who I am. I don't need to live out these issues of struggle and obstruction and persecution that were hidden deep in my psyche and kept coming up to the surface. Those aren't me. Those are stories. And I can move forward into the new story in the new chapter. So everything's pointing to this. And this Mercury, really great time to just sit, meditate, to write, to process, and to vision also the future. While these planets are together in their third conjunction, it's nothing else really, not so much happening in the sky, is giving us an opportunity to just sit, let the energies of the past release, and start to calm our nervous system and prepare for the new, and come into this deeper trust. This is the energy of Jupiter and Sagittarius. It's reaching out to the bigger picture, to hope, to the quest, to this sense of there's something bigger that guides me and I'm connected to. And this has been a feeling really people have been cut off from, and for a lot of different reasons, and multiple factors, but it's time to come back into that. And it's almost like it's a choice we have to make as we decide that we're not our old stories, and we're not here to play that out anymore. We're here to be the hope of the world as the light worker. And that starts with allowing that for us in our own heart. And this is a big thing that's coming up for people right now. In sessions, is this feeling of like, okay, so you're in this kind of energy of struggle, right? And maybe poverty consciousness would be an example, and feeling like, oh, life is so hard and it's all these things to work through. It's survival mode, right? And all these obstruction energies, and why is it so hard? And frustrated at the power control energies of this world keeping us down and all of that. And then what if somebody comes along, like your higher self, or this guide, and kind of opens the door and says, hey, come on through. You don't need to be there anymore. Come on through. But what about all those other people you're there with? And so we have contractual arrangements with our family, our friends, and groups of people we might feel responsible for. And that's what we know, and that's what makes us feel comfortable to be a part of that group. And that group, because you're a light worker and you're a soul that's being called to move, to be a forerunner in this process, you may be asked to step through that door into this new vibrational frequency where you feel lighter and freer and more hope. But then you're leaving them behind, right? And this is becoming really painful for people, that they don't understand really what's going on. And maybe this will clarify, because it's like we're going into the higher vibrational energies and we're going back into the darkness and the oppression and the lower frequencies. We're going back and forth, right? And so if life feels really, really heavy, it might be that one of these contracts is coming up that vibrationally you're ready to move, but you feel like you'd be leaving people behind. Now, the truth is that the only way we can really bring people with us, or not leave them behind, is to go and to demonstrate what's possible. That's how we bring people with us. But this programming of these heavy contracts of family, lineage, maybe soul groups of people that you feel responsible for, and maybe you've been kind of like a guide for them, and it feels like you'd rather suffer in the lower energies than feel guilt about leaving them behind. But that's all just, that's not the truth, and those are these old contracts and stuff. But anyway, so if you feel yourself stuck back, pulled back into those heavier energies, that might be what's going on. Is that you, and that brings up a lot of these issues we're still sorting through. We're still in the wreckage of this Venus retrograde. On the 17th, just a few days before the solstice, is when Venus finally gets out of this retrograde territory and moves into new territory. But so it's still hashing out for a lot of us, this intense Venus retrograde around whether or not we deserve. If we're being called into higher vibrational frequencies, but we don't feel like we deserve them, and maybe that's tied into these contracts of feeling like leaving people behind, then we're not going to go. But if our energy and our physical body and our DNA has changed to the point where it needs to be in these higher different vibrational frequency, it's going to get more and more painful in the lower vibrational frequency. So just watch for that. I think I've just been seeing people going into this more hopeful, lighter, feeling connected to bigger things and trusting in the universe, and then back into this heavy, oppressive energy, back and forth, right? Because we're and this is what the solstice is about. It's about resetting our vibration, coming together with our soul group. Because your soul group, your true soul group, your soulmates, they are working on this together too. So when we can connect, put our energy and attention into that, and release those contracts of this feeling of responsibility to souls that might not be ready to move. These souls might not be ready to go into this new energy. So it doesn't really make sense for you to feel bad for them or feel like you're leaving them behind, because they still need some more time, and that's okay. We all have our own process, but it's going to hurt for you to stay there. You've lightened your energy, you've cleared this karma, and you've got to allow yourself to move to this new energy. So that's the time. That's what the solstice is about allowing ourselves to reset into the new energy, connect with our soul group, and prepare for this 2019 energy. So I hope you can consider joining me for this really powerful, awesome event that is going to be leading up to the exact time of the solstice. And it's a group intuitive session, and I'm calling it a soul group session, because this is what's coming forward in my work. The real importance of where we're moving and what we're doing is this understanding these patterns in our soul group and connecting with our soul group and allowing those shared patterns and lifetimes to help us amplify our healing and clearing and support us, and bring more attention, like I said, to those positive connections and out of those contracts that are holding us back. And so this this is a group intuitive session, just like my individual sessions, where we look at past lives and we do clearings and healings and resets and stuff like that. So we're going to do this for the group. We're looking for shared past life pictures and energies that resonate with whoever ends up on the call. So probably multiple soul groups, but also connected through these different themes that we've experienced in our past lives. And so it's a great time to come together and reset your vibration, get the healings and clearings that you need to move into the new energy. Timeline reset, really potent, with still feeling this Uranus opposing or squaring up with the nodes. So that's going to be leading up to the exact time of the solstice on Friday, the 21st. That's 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and it's $20. And so if you can't make the live, you can still get on the call later. It's immediately available right after the event at the same link, and you can get on there with your intention to join. Your questions will be answered, and these shared pictures will come up and resonate for you. And so I hope to see you there, and just use this time to tap into this bigger picture of who you are and why you're going through all of this, because there is a blessing coming in this week around this Mercury-Jupiter conjunction of seeing why and understanding why you've gone through all that you've gone through. And maybe it was in the last couple months, and maybe it was lifetimes, and maybe your whole evolution on this planet. And that's the definition of indigo souls, light workers. You've heard me talk about this crystal seeds. They've had lots and lots of experiences before they came to this earth evolution and other evolutions, other ascension processes. And this is where what you need to validate for yourself is that, you came in as a pure initiate, purified, spiritual initiate. And it's nothing you need to earn back or prove. It's something you just need to know in your heart and claim back. And so this is what's really going on for people right now, and reclaiming this purity of soul and the truth of who you are as a light worker. And it's like letting go of these old stories and get on with it, right? I mean, when we really let this karmic purge go and reset our field, it's like, okay, I'm not going to live by those old stories anymore. A lot of frustration coming up for people. I talked about in my last video of being like, I did not come here for this. You know, maybe we had to go deep into these patterns of old lifetime stuff of obstruction and targeting and persecution and that kind of thing, in order to be like, wait a minute, like, I know I have bigger things to do and I'm more involved in this. I did not come to this planet to suffer and struggle. I'm beyond this. And this is now done. This story is done. And it's like, get on with it. Leave this in the past. And let's get on with what we came here to do, right? And so this is all stuff that's coming up right now. And really beautiful energy with this time of planets direct, all except Uranus. Uranus is turning direct on the 6th of January. And so we're kind of having this, okay, we're moving into new territory. We are releasing that past. We're resetting our vibration. And we've got that Mercury-Jupiter conjunction that's bringing us into connection with our higher self, that bigger picture. Why have we gone through all this? Because it is going to be worth it. So worth it. It's going to be so fun and such an adventure to be a part of this a spiritual evolution, spiritual ascension. And that's kind of that deal. It's like, what if you have gone through a spiritual ascension numerous times? Like, you're kind of an old hand at this. You just agreed to forget and to kind of stay in shame and in partial light, you know, around who you are. And it's like game over on that one. You know, it's time to get to work and get down to it, because it's happening. So thanks so much for doing all that you've been doing, and I hope you can join me for that solstice group, soul group session. And but just stick with me. We're going to look at a lot of these energies as we move into 2019 and Chinese New Year. So I look forward to next time. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.